welcome to our special edition of Community Video. Today our topic is how to handle deceased estate. So we have our guest speaker, Andre, which is the principal of Sherry Pittman Legal. Welcome aboard, Andre.
Thank you very much, Ming. Deceased estates, it's not the happiest time in anyone's life, but it is part of life. So it is something we all need to be aware of and how to deal with it when something happens to a loved one and how we look after things in that situation.
Yeah, I got some questions often being asked by our clients, and the first one would be, what would be the first step for family members and executors when a loved one passed away?
So in that situation, it's important to understand that obviously you're grieving, and that really is the primary focus at that point in time. Beyond that, you need to start getting an understanding of what the deceased person owned and looking at what steps then need to be taken to get those assets within the control of the estate and then ultimately distributed to the people or persons that the deceased wanted, either via their will or through letters of administration. So taking that one step at a time, and speaking specifically obviously of real estate, when you're looking at property, you need to have a look at whether the deceased person held that property jointly or in their own names. If they held it jointly as a joint tenant, then survivorship can occur, and this is where, if we're talking about a husband and wife, for example, the person that survived will be able to inherit automatically by the rules of survivorship the rest of the property, but steps have to be taken by a lawyer or a conveyancer to get that property fully transferred into the survivor's name before you can move forward with any other transactions such as a sale.
Sure.
In the situation where a property is held either individually or as tenants in common, then it will be necessary to get a grant of probate if there's a will, or letters of administration if there isn't, from the Supreme Court to be able to get the executor or administrator the legal right to actually deal with that property.
So what's the difference between beneficiaries and executors?
An executor is the person whose job it is to actually collect up the assets and to manage the estate. They will not necessarily be anyone who actually benefits from the estate. They can often intersect, but not all of the time. A beneficiary is the person who actually is going to receive a benefit from the deceased person's estate, ultimately, once the executor has collected in and managed the assets. So when you're talking about a sale of property, the executor is going to be the person that you would be dealing with, Ming, that would give you the authority to sell, and that would be eventually entering into any contract to sell the property.
All right. And what is a probate?
Okay, so probate is, and we try to avoid jargon where we can, but probate is the legal document that allows an executor to actually act on behalf of a deceased estate. So it is confirmation by the Supreme Court of Victoria that this person has the right to act as an executor in accordance with a will that the court accepts is binding and valid.
All right, and how long would probate normally take?
Yes, well, look, that's a very common question that we get, and there is no fixed time that we can say absolutely every probate will take this many months. But the reality is it depends on how many assets are being dealt with. Ultimately, what we need to worry about is making sure that an executor who's dealing with property is doing so safely and in accordance with the will. For most estates, that means that any distribution of property will not occur until at least 6 months has passed after the grant of probate, because before that point, an executor is personally liable for any distributions made, and if all of a sudden there is a claim made against the estate, they would be personally liable for that. So we wouldn't normally recommend a distribution before that 6 months is up.
Or from your experience, what is the shortest time and longest time for probate to be granted?
Okay, you can usually get it within 3-4 weeks. You do need to advertise the fact that you're going to make an application. It is necessary to collect in all of the information on the assets of the deceased so that you've got all of the information to give to the court, but it can happen reasonably quickly, 3 to 4 weeks, as I said. Longest, there really isn't a maximum sort of time frame. The issue is when people are ready to deal with it. Some of the time we have clients who obviously the grief is more important and the asset issues can follow later, so they can make the application a year later. There's no specific time frame for that. The issue is it's got to be dealt with when you're ready to deal with it, but also in a timely way to secure the assets of the deceased.
Yeah. So for the people who are watching the video right now, if you do not have a preferred lawyer, and I believe that your firm can help our clients to get all this legal work ready?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are, I am myself a specialist in property law. We are as a firm based in Glen Waverley for over 50 years now, and we often help in these sorts of circumstances, and we would be glad to assist you with any of your inquiries.
And also you have your in-house solicitor conveyancers to do the property selling and the settlement service?
Yes, correct, Ming. So we are a full-service law firm, so we can do both the estate side of things to make sure we get that grant of probate or letters of administration in the event that there isn't a will. And then once we've got that, we can work through processes to collect in the assets, to work through any property sales, so we can do it in a seamless and smooth way for the executor and try and really keep that stress off the family. I think they're already going to be under enough stress in that situation of a death of a loved one. The lawyer's job is really just to make things easier, not to make things harder.
Thank you, Andre, for the very detailed explanation. I think this helps lots of clients who have a question about the deceased estate. And thank you for watching the video, and hope the video helps to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call or give Andre a call, and we're more than happy to help you.
Thank you, Ming.